Satnam, Satnam yogis and yoginis. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to the course on number 7. We are going to explore a really difficult topic today. We're going to take on the topic from the last week when we were talking about the 7 sins related to the chakras, and we're going to make it much more evolved and see what does hell mean? What does hell really mean when we talk about hell? There's often this idea of this concept as something that is expecting us at the end of life. But we're going to talk today about something different. We're going to talk about hell in this life. How we can generate through our decisions or lack of decisions the situations that are going to bring hell on earth. And damned experience, damned living experience. And we need to do this. Why? Why would we want to go into explaining about hell? We need to know it because sometimes, most often, we are not aware of where our path is taking us. Are we going in a dharmic path that is going to take us to our elevation, to happiness? Or are we in a karmic path that is going to take us to some terrible consequences down the line? The thing is, when we are moving, what I call, and this comes from Shiv Charan Singh, but also connected to Kundalini Yoga's teachings, the 7 steps to heaven and the 7 steps to hell. When you're going towards heaven, it is like this celestial light coming down, right? At the end of the tunnel, at the end of the staircase. But when you're going down to hell, there's also light coming from the flames, right? So sometimes we are moving towards this light and we are not sure what is that light. So it's important that we identify what are the qualities of the experience as we are moving down step by step, and identify which are each one of these steps so that we can avoid it. And so that also when we can identify that step that we are in, we can recognize, oh my goodness, I am in this, I'm getting down to hell. I don't want to get there. What can I do? What can I change? Right? So we need to be able to identify in which path are we. So that's the idea for today. And it's kind of linked to the last video that we did on the 7 chakras. If you haven't watched it, I recommend that you do. But it's not necessary because this is an in-depth explanation of the path. And to identify a particular sin with this or not, it doesn't have to be necessary. But I mean, this is the diagram we did the last time. Yeah, and it's interesting, especially from a yogic perspective. I mentioned some of these could be exchanged. They could be seen in different ways. We will come into this as we evolve, the 7 steps. But the 7 steps, I'm not going to be based on this. I'm going to be developing slowly. They are connected, but they are not. They are going to be developed little by little. And I think it's going to make a lot of sense as we progress. So I'm glad to be here doing another video. I've been away for a week. I was in Dubai with an incredible experience. My plane was arriving right when the storm was hitting, at the end of the storm, hitting Dubai. And it was an incredible experience. Maybe I'll tell you about it in some other live stream. Today we have work to do. But okay, let's go to it. 7 steps to hell. And I like doing drawings. So if this is the first time you come across this channel, then I explain things from the perspective of yoga, but I introduce the qualities of the numbers. This is going to be a number course, but we are not going too deep into the numbers yet. We have to deal with a number of issues from the mind before we can go deep into the numbers. But I like to do a lot of drawings, so bear with me. This is going to be 7 steps to hell. And it will be nice when we put this in contrast with next week's video, which is going to be 7 steps to heaven. I think you're going to enjoy that much more than this one for sure. But this again is very important that we explore it. So let me do 7. Let's do 7 bubbles. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a little bit like the opposite of this diagram that we did last week. So rather than going up to the chakras, this is going to be like the mirror. Imagine this person that as we are ascending, we are going deeper into hell, kind of like going downwards, yeah, down the stairs into the self-created hell on earth. This is not a heaven and a hell after life and some imaginary thing that comes after life. This is how we live life, sometimes like it was hell. So let's go slowly through this. And the first one, you will, if you were here the other day, you will recognize that the first one was called sloth. That was the sin that we associated. I'll just show you for a moment. Yeah, this is the sin that we ended up associating to the first chakra. But I'm going to develop it now. Sublime Infinite Stories, good morning. Hello, welcome. Yeah, thank you for welcoming back. Yes, I'm happy to be back. I missed doing videos after a week and a half, really not doing any video. So I'm glad to be here, back on the saddle again. So let's go to that. What is the first step to hell? Well, the first step to hell, we call it passive expectancy. Again, these teachings come from Shiv Charan Singh. He is the one who developed the Karam Kriya, but also he gives a lot of details on these 7 steps to hell. It's kind of similar to the 7 steps to happiness. The first one is just telling us that rather than really engaging with, life, it's about having a certain passive attitude, like stepping back a little bit. And it's kind of like an immature position. Children need to be taken care of, right? Babies need to be taken care of. You need to change their nappies, you need to feed them. But somehow, as the child becomes an adolescent and then becomes an adult, we should take responsibility for our lives. But if we don't take responsibility, if we just stay in that passive state of do things for me, that we call that passivity, right? And in this case, passivity with a certain expectancy, because you are expecting the world to entertain you, to nourish you, to take care of your needs, and you are just like gliding along, yeah? And we can certainly see people in their 30s or their 40s and still living with their mom and dad and having things done to them. And, mom takes care of your dirty clothes even when you are 30-something and cleaning for you and cooking for you. And that's not the job of your mom, by the way. But yeah, like total lack of taking ownership of your life. So that passivity, that expectancy, because you are not engaging with the world, the energy that you have, you can put it to something else, right? So rather than taking care of yourself, what am I going to do with my energy? Well, then what happens is you enter into the world of man-made magic, we call it. Yeah, it's like you choose to do whatever you want on your world, and you think that you are creating your own world, creating your life, creating your story, and creating your destiny, which that is not really, because actually you live in a karmic existence, a fateful existence, but you have this idea, well, what do I really want to do with my life? So that energy, you start to utilize it in some way, and you have a certain number of, again, there's some expectations from the world and assumptions. Yeah, that people are going to cater for you, they are going to take care of you, they are going to nourish you, entertain you, and the world is for you to enjoy. Is that called hedonistic? I think it's called hedonistic, yeah, attitude, like I'm just here to have fun, let's say. So you have these expectations, and also you are kind of, you set yourself in a state of waiting. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. You are not really, you're not committing to anything. You're just, let's see what the world brings for me. Very immature attitude. But these expectations are linked to some particular fantasy Expectation means that we are projecting into the future, right? So we have a fantasy in our mind of what life can be about, and then we imagine that life is going to be. And then we just wait and see if that happens or it doesn't happen. Well, let's go to the second step. Wait. Second one, we call it the illusion of knowledge. Now, the illusion of knowledge means that let's take this step slowly. I'm passive, expecting. Let's see what the world brings me. And the world does start to bring you things. And a lot of what is coming, you may not be expecting it because it's unexpected. Yeah, you expect some things, you have some assumptions, but they are false. They are based on your fantasy, not on reality. And so when the things come, they can either be like going your way, or they can either be going against you. So we have a basic, very, very basic primal attitude here, which is, let's call it seeking pleasure and avoid pain. Right? In the first step, we were just passive, not doing anything. Then when things start to come, and they are generally karmic, we want them to be pleasurable and to avoid pain. This is one of the most basic instincts that we have as animals, because, if something is painful, it could be dangerous for you. So in our DNA, we are encoded in a way that is protect yourself by avoiding the pain. And Satnam Infinity, hello, good to see you here. Satnam Ji, we're going into hell today. Come join me. We're not going to go into hell. We're going to see the hell from above, and we're going to identify the steps so we can avoid it. Yeah. So on the very primal instinct, we avoid pain so we can survive, and we look for pleasurable things because, if in nature it's not easy to find sugar, and then you find a fruit, that pleasure, it's telling you, wow, this is important, go and eat it, right? Now, nowadays in our life, where we are filled with processed sugar and all sorts of things that are calling our attention, we can just extend our hands and grab it very often. And so we look for pleasure and we avoid pain. But what happens is, I think it's in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, Guru Nanak says, I think it's Guru Nanak who says, pleasure is the poison and pain is the remedy, right? And what that means is that when we are looking for that pleasure, that's a very passive and hedonistic attitude of just enjoying the moment, which means not looking towards the future and doing something about it. And the pain, avoiding the pain, what happens is that takes us into a comfort zone and stay in the comfort zone. We know that as long as we stay in the comfort zone, we are not growing. That's why, in yoga, when you come into class and we put you into these postures with the arms up and you have to stay there for 3 or 5 or 11 minutes or 31 minutes, it can be very painful. But why do we do this? Is it just to harm ourselves? No, we do this because a number of things. First, we are disciplining our mind. We are showing our commitment to the mind to say, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get through. The barriers of the mind of what you think is possible break, because suddenly something you thought was impossible, you can do it. And then there is also this idea that we can break through barriers which are painful. And we know that when you finish the exercise, in a few minutes, the pain will be totally gone. Sometimes in a few seconds, the pain is totally gone. But the benefit, the courage that you got, the discipline that you established, the knowing that you can do it, that stays with you forever. So it makes sense that we also in yoga explore these realms of the mind which tell us what we can do and what we cannot do and break through the barriers. So that's why sometimes, not always, we don't just go for pain, okay? We are not sadistic, right? We are not masochistic, sorry. It has to be appropriate in a certain way. But avoiding pain, this is what takes us in where we are going right now, in this place, right? We were passive and expecting, with some expectations, with some assumptions. Now something comes, and we either like it or dislike it. And this is very interesting because I believe there is a definition in the Bhagavad Gita linked to Krishna telling Arjuna how a yogi is beyond the polarities of what we like and what we dislike. So we have to go above this and found our neutral state. But you know what? We have the illusion of knowledge and thinking we know better. The universe is trying to bring me this experience. Well, I think I know what I want. I know what it is for me. And I'm going to go and take it. Or I'm going to organize my life to avoid this, right? Whether you like it or dislike the experience. Well, if you like it, if what the universe brings you is pleasure, let's say good karma, right? Karma is not just bad. Something happens and then you have some good karma and there's some pleasurable experience. And this could be as simple as having a very naive but loving mom who takes care of you, and that's pleasurable. Somebody's doing your chores and taking care of you, and you have nothing to really do. As a mature human being, you are 35, but you stay in your room and do nothing really, and it can be pleasurable in that way. Now, if you like what comes, right? Let me put it like this in orange. That's the lust we were talking about the other day, where we want more. A part of me knows that there is some emptiness within, okay? Just because we go into the second step and we link it to the second chakra, and we know the second chakra is linked to the void inside. So when we come here, we think we know better, and we want to fill that void. Yeah, so we're going to try to look for pleasurable experiences to fill that void. So, all right. Now, if we say no, I want to go on, then if I come into the third step, especially if I dislike the experience, right? This dislike. So whatever brings the universe, I don't like it. This is something I'm going to want to exclude. Remember, I don't want the pain, right? This is likes or dislikes. Dislike is going to want to push something away. Now, this exclude is going to take me to the third step, which, if you remember when we were doing the 7 sins, we called it wrath. Yeah? So you could see also gluttony here in some way. I mentioned that gluttony is linked to the digestive system, which is linked to the navel. So you could also see like, I want to eat more, particularly if you like it. So we could also put here /gluttony, like you are enjoying. Yeah, if you are having pleasure with what's coming, we could say that this could be gluttony as well. Let me put it like this. I couldn't talk about this in that way when we were doing this video, but hopefully now it's making sense. Yeah, that whatever is coming from the universe, I like it or I dislike it. If I dislike it, I'm angry. If I like it, now I want to eat more and more and more of that. Though gluttony, I associate it more to the fifth. But let's put it like this. I think it will make sense at the end. All right, so I want to exclude whatever I dislike. Now, there could be two things here. One is, I am fighting against what's coming, so I'm going to try to control it. That's the illusion of control. Because I think I can control something. So I can control what comes my way. But there is another danger here. If in the excluding, I try to exclude myself, rather than excluding the thing that is outside that I dislike, if I try to exclude myself, then this is a shortcut straight all the way to, if I exclude myself, me, this is to number 7, which means it's a shortcut to hell directly when we try to exclude ourselves. Otherwise, This is excluding is a step to number 3. Yeah, it's going to number 3. Oh, let me have a message here. It's also symbolized in the hand of some Hindu deities, the noose to pull us back of our likes and the javelin to push us toward our aversions. Oh, really? That's really interesting. All right, the noose to pull us back of our likes and the javelin to push us forwards towards our aversions. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm aware that very often in the Hindu deities you see maybe there's like this goddess with 4 hands on one side, 4 hands on the other, or 2 and 2, something like that. And 4 of these are like blessings, and 4 of these are often weapons. So I find that very interesting, yeah? Always, iconography is called. It has so many layers of meaning. But that's really nice. Thank you, Infinity. That's very interesting, yeah? And a noose is representative of death, isn't it? So it's telling us, look, you're hanging yourself, right? You're hanging yourself by seeking pleasure. But the thing is, particularly here, as soon as we go into here, into the 3rd step, there's no way back. Actually, as you go into the 3, now you go all the way to 7. While, you may have started with a little bit of expectation, but when you get here, you still have some choice, You still have some choice to be able to say, well, am I going to carry on or am I going to go back? But after you go into the 3rd step, then there is no choice. So it's telling us, look, this is the noose, right? If you go on, you're going to hang yourself. So very, very interesting. Thank you. Illusion of control then is like, well, I can control what I like and what I dislike. So what can I do that if I want more or I want less of whatever is coming my way, I'm going to control that, and I'm going to start like scheming and planning my battle plan, let's say, on how can I carry on finding the pleasure and carry on avoiding the pain. And so I have my plans based on my expectations, but also with the results, because look, we had some expectations, but immediately the universe brought something to us, so we had some basic results already. So taking these expectations together with some basic results of what's coming, I create from a plan, I create this plan, and I elaborate some false hope. I say false hope because the hope is that we are going to be happy. The final end is that we are happy, right? We want to be happy. But true spiritual happiness, that's heaven. We are going to see that in next week, the 7 steps to heaven. We're going to see it's like 7 steps to happiness. True, lasting spiritual happiness, not local, temporal, short-term, and pleasure which dissipates and disappears very soon, right? But true everlasting happiness, that's heaven. And because we think that by the making of our plans, we can avoid what we dislike and go towards what we like, we put the hope on this, and it's false, because even if we get there, we will find out very soon that that's not happiness. And so that's already a false assumption, a false, let's say, theory. You have some theories, some how would you call that? Hypothesis, yeah, of if this happens, I would be happy, no? What would I need to be happy? What has to happen for me to be happy? So that's that kind of things. So, sorry, let's remember, if I exclude myself and I say, oh, like I am the victim of the universe, everything is going to hunt me, we are already in level 7. If we try to exclude what's coming to us and we try to fight against it, we make plans and we have the false hope that we are going to be happy by avoiding this pain, or plans to keep getting what we like, to keep enjoying what we like. And that's based on some theory of what we think that we need and what's going to be real happiness. Yeah. But this theory will later have to be proved, right? When we get to the result of what we're going to be planning now, we're going to figure out whether it was true or it was not. But in any case, this is not based on some intuitive sensitivity, but it's actually just our mind creating its fantasies, its projections, evaluating the pros and the cons of any decision, and just basing it on this idea that we seek pleasure and avoid pain. But yeah, we're going to create some rules for the game that we're going to be playing now. Rules of the game. We're going to create, it's really like a game now, and we want to win the game. But there has to be some rules in order to play the game, some criteria for the win or lose result. We have to define this. This is the moment when we, based on what we think we know, we will try to control what's coming afterwards. Yeah. But let's remember, we cross a line, there's no way back. You may experience a lot of indecision and doubts, because a part of us knows that this is just rubbish. Everything we are playing right now is just a fabrication of the mind. It doesn't go according to reality and with life, and this is not what the universe is expecting of us. But because we were in this passive expectancy, then this is false, and a part of us knows this. Yeah? So the inner creeping doubts will be there, and they will be growing, and we will see them grow as we go even deeper. It's not nice, is it? This is not a pleasant journey, but we need to explore it. Have a cup of tea or something with you while we are doing this. A little treat. All right. Well, we define what it would be to be happy. If only I won $1 million. If only I was the president of the company. If only maybe I was married and have 2 kids, or whatever you think that's going to make you happy. You create an idea, and anything, no matter how nice it may look initially, like if only I could leave my job and become a yoga teacher. That can be a fantasy too, right? So whatever image you create of the game, you create some rules, you create the theory that you're going to be happy when you get there, you put some false hope, even though part of you is in doubt, and now comes the next step. Now I'm going to put my energy, my effort, my money, my heart and my soul in it. I'm going to invest myself into this plan that I just created. Well, we call this step greed. If you remember when we were doing the 7 sins, the fourth one was linked to the heart, which generally the heart is compassion and is empathy, and it's about giving and offering to others. In here, in this step to hell we are doing now, everything you are controlling is in order to get more for yourself. It's about getting more pleasure. If the universe was giving you pleasure, how can I control it to get even more? Right? What kind of game do I have to play to get even more? If there was something that I disliked, how can I change this so I don't get any more of that? Or get even more pity from others because of how terrible I am having in my life, how much pain I'm having, right? It's all about getting more of that. And in order to get more, you invest even more. So because you want more results, you have to invest more. This is like going all in. Yeah, you're putting all of yourself to try to get the maximum reward for that. So you invest yourself. This is kind of like a blind faith. Because there may be these creeping doubts coming that this is possibly false. But remember, we have a false hope. So now at this point, it's like, no, we're doing well. Don't look at all the signs that this could be a problem. Don't go into there. Just close your eyes and move on. Just move on. Go. So there's this blind faith. There's nothing indicating you that this is going to be bringing you happiness. You're just going to have to go blindly into that. So we call that blind faith. And yeah, we will fight in this point against everything that comes. There's a fighter in us. We're going to take off the sword and we're going to start fighting against what comes. And a lot of what's going to be coming is because a part of us knows that this is not true. Going through all this game, there's going to be some anxiety. Yes? A part of us is like, it's not fair. Why is this happening to me? And the more I invest, the pain keeps coming, or if you don't like it, yeah? Or if you are enjoying what you have, there's an anxiety that you may not get to the end to win the game, or maybe you're going to lose what you have. So this is kind of like playing in the roulette in the casino, right? Or like I said, all in, like playing cards. So there is the anxiety. What if I lose it all? Right? It's like when, I think, I'm not much of a card player, but I believe that is like two poker players are playing and then one is like, okay, I raise you. And the other one is like, oof, I have so much invested already. But if I pull back now, I lose all that. So I re-raise, and the other one, ooh, the same thinking, I have so much to risk. I already put so much, let me put even more. And then I re-raise, right? And they keep raising and raising and raising till they are all in, yeah? So this is the investment. And it has all this anxiety. And with the blind faith, you go in, you invest everything in you. And we don't really know if we are going to get anything out of that. We don't even know if we deserve anything that comes. But we have a certain fantasy that this is going to be for us. We deserve it in a way. Yeah, there's the deserve. And we're going to have, how do I put this? There's going to be, a part of us thinks about our capacity, that we can do it, our merit, that we deserve it, and our permit. That somehow just because it's in front of us, we can do it, we can get it. It's for us. Now, I'm doing this to try to connect to a concept that some of you will remember from this diagram on the mind games. If you were here in the video with the mind games, this is the 3 mind games that are like, I'm not capable, I'm not allowed, I don't deserve. But this is like the mind thinking, no, I can do this, I am allowed, I deserve it, but in a very karmic way related to something that is not really for you to take in that way. But, this is the presumption that, we deserve all this, so let's go into here. But a part of us, this anxiety is because there's some fear. We are afraid. A part of us is afraid. This same part which had doubts, at this point that we are investing everything, this very same part is afraid that there's going to be consequences, right? It's obvious, it's clear. So a part of us is like, there's going to be consequences. So it kind of sets up a defense line. This is going to, if anybody comes and tells me I don't deserve, or I'm not allowed, or whatever, I'm going to have my defenses up to be ready to fight against whatever is coming. So this is the fighter, because, inside there is this greed that you want more. Yeah? Does it make sense? Hopefully it does. All right. Well, we invested everything. We went all in. Now what? What's the result? The result is called, the next step, karma, drama, trauma. Trauma, yeah? I'm thinking Spanish, in Spanish pronunciation. Karma, drama, trauma. Karma, drama, trauma. It's karma, drama, trauma, right? So, whatever is the result of playing the game, because we were doing actions, there's going to be a karma associated to that. And particularly if it's negative. But look, no matter what kind of result you get out of this game, this is not a dharmic game. This is a karmic game. We are going for pleasure, not for happiness. So whatever you do, whatever we do, that is a karma, and there is a drama associated to that. Because let's say your game, the rules of your game were like, I want win $1 million. Okay, or I want to be the head of the company or whatever. Well, you're going to do whatever it needs to be done because you associate that objective, your priority, to be happy. So you're going to sacrifice relationships, family, health to get there. And that's going to have consequences. So there's going to be a drama. There's going to be some trauma as a result of having played that game. And when you get to step 5, this is the step of consequences. Now, the game that we set up with the theory and the planning and all that, either we win or we lose. This is the result, yeah. And so there's gains and there's losses, and there's a result to all of that. And we have been fighting against everything, but everything that would possibly take the winnings, the earnings that we deserve, right? We've been fighting, but in the fighting, let's say we lose the game. Well, it can be a number of things can happen here. One is, this is kind of, let me put it this way. You remember when we were seeing the mind games? Let me bring this back. We were saying shame and pride are both linked to the victim and the guilty. Well, in the same way as this, shame and pride are linked to winning and losing. And so this is the beginning of shame and pride. Even though in the other video we were doing this, we put this pride on the top, and I mentioned this could start earlier, yeah? So this is the step where we can see already some of this shame and pride happening. So if you win, both things can happen. Eh? If you win, you can be proud of winning. But also, you could be ashamed of how you won and what you had to do to get there. And maybe see all the ones who lost the game, because there's always losers in a game, and be a little bit ashamed that you won while the others lost. Maybe the others deserved it more than you, because part of you is with inner doubt of, really, do I deserve, right? So there can be pride and shame linked to this winning, but also to the losing. Losing is itself shaming in general as a quality, but you can be ashamed, you can be proud of losing, because a part of losing is it puts you in the position of the victim. And a victim is just, it can be another tool to play with the facade of the victim to get pity from others and sympathy from others. So you can use this winning and losing in a way as part of the game to try to gain the attention and from others. Why would we even need that? Well, because a part of us knows, the one that is making us doubt, a part of us knows that this is not happiness. So we need others to tell us how wonderful that you got there. You must be so happy. So you can, I'm confirmed. Yeah. Is this where the guilt creeps in? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There can be some guilt. Wow, it's getting very dark here. Suddenly the sun went away. But yeah, this is here it is back. Hello. Yes, this is where the guilt creeps in. Good. But yes, we are going to see what do we do with the guilt, especially as we come to the 7th step. This can be quite quick or it can be slow, this whole process, but okay. So, where are we? Losers and winners and shame and pride. This is the beginning of shame and pride, which, by the way, pride is just a substitute of what The mind knows that there is a certain dignity in the soul and tries to substitute it with this feeling of proud, yeah, being higher than the others. And that's why, in part, if you remember, that's why we were putting pride at the top, on the top chakra, because it's like above others, right? But this is where it starts. Oh, sorry, I removed it. This is where it starts, in this step. So if, and with the winning and losing, there comes the showing and the hiding. We want to show success to gain the respect or the status or the recognition, or maybe we want to show the failure to get the sympathy from others, or hide, yeah, hiding the success because we are guilty, feeling guilty, yeah, the guilt from that Infinite Stories was talking about. Maybe we hide the success because we feel guilty of what we have, or we want to hide the loss because we feel ashamed of it. So there we go. So showing and hiding, and the fear increases as well. Yeah, we were afraid of because we know there's going to be consequences to all this game that we are doing, and the winning and the losing, even though it seems the end, it's not the end. We fear that there's going to be even more consequences to this. So these strategies for the defense line that we were setting up is going to be even more important now, getting ready for what may come next. Now, all this we cannot stop. As soon as we went here and we started to create the game, we cannot stop it. We just go deeper and deeper and deeper into that. Now, the fifth, where's blue? Here. The fifth sin, we were calling it gluttony. And let me just mention that this is also linked, there is also the beginning of this pride. Yeah, it was starting here. You can see also the pride in the fifth chakra, like lifting your chin, like feeling above others. That can also be like, a feeling of that I am more important than you. But we were talking about gluttony, like the throat should be where you choose what goes in and what doesn't go in, what you decide to swallow and what you don't. And with this game, you are just swallowing the game even deeper. And what happens even deeper is that you get to the next step, which is compensation. It's really quite simple, yeah? What's this? Let's use the pink. We called it envy. Envy is the sin, yeah? Well, if I lost, I want to win. And those who won, I envy them. It's quite clear, yeah? But if I won, and now I'm not happy, I'm gonna want to have a reward. So you need a prize, a reward out of having won the game. What you think is the game, that it may not be at all, but you had an idea, you had a plan for seeking that pleasure, and you had a theory, you set up the rules of the game. Well, if it's a game, there has to be a reward. Now, when you come here and you say, well, what is my prize? Maybe you're expecting to be happy, and then you don't get it. Well, if I don't have it, I'm going to take it. So if we think we should have deserved more, this is the deserving, yeah? And we didn't get it, we take it. We steal it, yeah? But if we lost, it's not about the prize. If we lost, there's a number of strategies that we can do to compensate for the feeling of having lost, which is, for example, finding a scapegoat, finding someone to put the blame on, someone or something to put the blame on, and even revenge of those who won, yeah? Or some sort of punishment. This is all very much linked to the envy. Yeah. The shadow part of me is asking me for a proof, for a proof that I I deserved all this, right? Do you remember that a part of me was like, no, you deserve all this. The shadow is asking me for a proof, but on the other side, I'm trying to hide it, right? And then blame it on somebody else, or showing it and then take your reward, even if it's not yours to be taken, you just steal it. Yeah. So because, even if we won and we take it, yeah, the part of me that is the shadow that was like, do you deserve it? Yes, I deserve it. And you're going to ask for some form of, let's say, credit. Yeah, you remember we have the merit, the permit. Well, this has to be, okay, I won, I have a credit towards humanity or towards my family or towards my boss or towards whatever for whatever game I have been playing. There has to be, I'm going to be keeping score and taking notes of everything that I have done and everything that I deserve afterwards. And if any situation arises later on and we are having an argument or we're going to try to decide something, I'm going to have my list of things that I can say, you see, I need to be compensated for every effort that I did based on your idea of what had to be done. Yeah, so you have, how can I put this? Keeping score? Keeping score, I think. Yeah. We're still avoiding responsibility for what we did because we are playing all this game based on what we think it's going to be true happiness. But right now we were just playing the game. Well, there's not much more to do here. We are coming into the last step. Justification. Now, justification, where is the color? Here. This is pride. I mentioned pride starts over here, then this is where it's fully crystallized. Pride and shame, yeah? When I write pride, remember that it goes hand by hand with the shame as well. Well, what is this justification? Well, we keep score, we have a credit, we are asking for some sort of certificate that we won the game. And now this certificate is going to be the validation, is the proof that I did what I had to do. So you have some form of proofs. Yeah. And remember, this is proofs that you did it. Yeah. So it proves that. What does it prove, by the way? It proves the hypothesis. You remember? We were setting up a theory back here in the planning. And when we get to here, this is where you say, you see, I knew it. I knew I could win $1 million. I knew I could be the boss. I knew I could win whatever. Then you got it. Here is the proof. Yeah, the proof to my hypothesis. I did the whole game and I got what I wanted to have. This is it. This is my proof. Now, a part of us knows that it's a lie, but we cannot go back. So we need to justify. Yeah, that this is everything we have worked for. This is what we wanted to do. And there's something else as well. Like a part of us that knows we were supposed to find happiness there. We did this whole game to find that happiness, that feeling of joy of winning the game. But then when you get here, that isn't there. And you remember that inner anxiety and doubts and the creeping fear is waking up. And so even if you win, let's say, I mean, it's a very silly example, but let's say that, yeah, I want to make my first $1 million, let's say by the age of whatever, 20. Okay, then, or 25 or 30, whatever age you want to put it. Okay, let's say you win the game. Let's say you get it. Well, now, people are going to say, well, you broke the rules, or you had favoritisms, or people helped you in some other way, or who knows, right? And because part of you knows that this is, you didn't deserve all this, that you were just hunting it in a karmic way. By the way, I have nothing against winning $1 million, okay? I'm just saying, if you're playing games together and you expect that that's going to be happiness, right? I'm not against money. I'm not against being rich or having good resources, or, provide for your family and live a good future for your loved ones and the ones that are behind. I have nothing against that. I'm just saying, as an example, if we look for money or a status position or something like that, and like this is happiness, and we go there, let's say you get there and you have the proof, you got there. Now a part of you is like, ooh, I did it, but can I replicate the same success? And then whatever others say negative, oh, but you blah, 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 then you want to prove it again. You're going to have to justify that it was true, that you did it, and that it was in your own power. So this justification is really powerful. You're going to have to get all sorts of explanations to prove this, but also excuses if you didn't. So if this is the path of the dislike, and then feel that what the universe is bringing, you don't like it, then you create a theory of what has to be done to receive happiness, then you invest your energy, and you think you're going to deserve it, but then you lose, right? And now I lost, I blame it into something else. Well, it's because, I don't know, I failed the exam, but it's because the teacher is very nasty with me, because he doesn't like me, or because there was not enough time to study, or whatever. We blame it on something else. We put excuses. Right? Excuses is a way to justify why did we lose the game. It's really interesting. Who would have said that the last step to hell is justification? Doesn't feel like that, does it? Initially, intuitively, one would say, justify? Is it really that bad? Is it really the last step of all? Well, it is, because when you give explanations and excuses to whatever happened, what you are basically, this justification, what you are basically saying is, not only I did what I had to do to get here, but I reaffirm, this is like a reaffirmation, that what I did was right, it had to be done, and this was the path, it was correct, it was fine, the problem was not me, the problem was the others, the give excuses for, whatever blame you put on somebody else, find the scapegoat. So I did what had to be done. Now what this does is you are establishing a pattern and a habit. If you have to, because you are starting again, right? The moment you justify why you had to do the game, you are basically saying, and I'm going to keep playing that game. And then you go back into the 3 and then start doing this whole game again. If you do this 3 times, it becomes a habit. This justification, when you're justifying yourself, this is the nail on the coffin. This is the padlock. You put a lock and you don't get out of it. We are trapped into our mind games created jail. This jail that you will remember, the mind games. We put the lock and we throw away the key and we justify it had to be like this. The moment we are justifying our decisions and our actions, we are not leaving a gap for consideration that we could have done something else. So Infinity says, do you mean expectations is the root cause of suffering? Not the root, is the end. And it's the end, and it's the thing that causes the perpetuation of them. In the root cause of suffering, the root starts here. Being a little bit passive, expecting things to happen for you, expect the universe to entertain you, kind of like waiting for let's see how things go. That's the beginning. That's the origin of suffering. And we will see next week when we go into the 7 steps to happiness and heaven that there is a way to deal with all of this, which is actually quite simple. But when you go through hell, when you go through this, and we have all gone through this, and we justify why we did what we had to do, rather than take ownership of our decisions and decide, well, yes, I played the game, but I'm not going to do it anymore. If instead of that you justify yourself, then you are putting the lock on the coffin. Yeah, so this is the lock, let's say. And now it's locked. Now it's a pattern, it's a habit, it's something that is going to repeat itself. And if anybody asks us anything, we're going to be able to prove that we did the right thing. And with the pride, go ahead, even if it's going into hell, even if we are suffering, we are in pain, we are in a terrible trouble, doesn't matter. We're just going to justify, we're going to carry on. The same with the victim as well. Yeah, we are a victim. Remember the second step, when we said the world brings you something and you don't like it, but you feel that I am a victim of circumstances. Oh yeah, it's because whatever. We give excuse to that, and then we exclude ourselves. Through that excluding ourselves and the excuse we give, we are jumping straightway here. So we lock ourselves into the victim personality, yeah. We thought we were victors, right? Reaching here and winning the game. Well, it can be victim and victory. It doesn't matter because we are trapped. So by doing this, we say, well, we're not going to play the game. But in a way, by not playing the game is also a way of, again, passivity. So we are, oh, why should I do this? Why should I study if it's very hard to get a job? Why should I study, because anyway, I don't know what I want to do. Why should I look for a job if they're going to pay me very little and have to do 9 to 5 every day and my parents can support me right now? Why should I? So you are like in this victim mode and justifying yourself with all this, why should I? And then you don't give yourself an opening for coming out of this space. You are in hell, right? The moment we do these things, we trap ourselves in hell and we locked it. Nasty, nasty, nasty. How are you hearing this? This is the place of the cynicism, the cynic. Yeah. Cynicism, skepticism, criticism. From this high pedestal of pride, you can criticize and be skeptical about any other. And then somebody can tell you, well, I don't have $1 million, but I feel much happier in my life. Or I'm not the boss of the company, but I'm doing what I like to do. I'm enjoying it. And this is my little job or my little project that I put all my energy and is bringing me so much satisfaction. And them from this high place of attitude, remember that the 7 is the platform, from their pride, they will criticize you and they will laugh at you and they were cynics and skeptics. Yeah, this is laughing as well, laughing at someone. So, Finn's story says, so by not living in the present moment, you're placing yourself in hell otherwise, because you are projecting the future of living in the past. By not living in the present moment, you place yourself in hell. Yes, because you're projecting the future or living in the past. Yeah, that's definitely, yeah, I'm trying to see how that connects to which steps. I'm trying to think, how are the steps connected to this? Living in the present moment, by the way, it's about taking ownership of your life and where am I right now and how can I move on, right? It's not about projecting into a fantasy of a future, but about saying right now where we are, where can we go? And that's taking responsibility, and that's going to be the opposite of this passive expectancy. We will see what this means on the next video, okay? But yeah, that's that. In order to change this direction, we have to be in the present, truly. This you were talking about the past and the future. Look, in order to do this whole path is because we think we know better based on what we know, the illusion of what we know actually, because how much of what we know is true. And we create this, even before we create these expectations and assumptions of how world should be. Yeah. So these expectations and assumptions is on the future based on our past. So it's already linked to the past and the future. Infinity says, shouldn't desires and samskaras come before expectations and assumptions? Desires and samskaras come before expectations and assumptions. Well, just in case somebody doesn't know what samskaras is the seeds of karma that we have planted in the past. So if we have done any action, it's going to plant the seed for the karma that is going to be carried by that action. So if I slap someone, then there is a little seed in the universe, let's say, that somebody is going to slap me. That's a samskara. And then the slap, we don't know when it will come, right? So at some point, the seed will decide this is the right moment to flourish. It's not the seed that decides, but okay, let's say like that. And then somebody slaps you. So it's like, oh, okay. So that was a karma. But before it manifests, those are the samskaras. Okay, so shouldn't desire and samskaras come before expectations and assumptions? It's hard to answer because this is something we are like constantly in this, going like this. We lock ourselves up, but we continue with the loop, and we play the loop again, and we play the loop again. I mean, we are constantly in this, doing this whole process. So what was before, the chicken or the egg, no? How did we develop these expectations and these assumptions? Well, probably they come from already the past, something that happened before. And we were already playing this game. And actually, much of this game is probably inherited. Yeah, your parents teach you the value of something. If I was giving the example to win $1 million, maybe your parent, your father even, said, look, you are a businessman. You want to be a businessman? You have to make $1 million by the age of 22. You got it? And otherwise, I'm going to laugh at you. Something like that. I mean, some people operate their lives in that way. They try to live up to the expectations of the parents. So these expectations and assumptions can also be inherited. I gave the example of the adult man living in the house with his parents, and they take care of him, and his mom cooks and so on. But there is also. So that's also partly like that. It's not that their parents have the expectations that he should live like that, but we generally operate in either we copy our parents or we do the complete opposite. It's often we do this kind of thing. So we could say also, is these expectations and assumptions ours, or are they coming from our parents? But then if we want to take that argument even later, we could say, well, who cares? Because your soul chose your parents. So, and it chose those parents because you had something to learn, and because the karma that you have, the samskaras that you have in this life, they resonate well with what you're going to experience in that life. So if you have to experience them being with a father who disowns you, or who says, you are not my son because you are not good enough for me, whatever, something like that, some kind of situation like that. Well, your soul chose that parent, so you put yourself in that situation because of the karma you had to experience in this life. And so the moment you find in that position, you are like, well, I expect that I can do something to gain the respect of my father, or to be my own man, for example. Well, that will be based on the karma and the samskaras, but that, like, what is behind? You know what I mean? So what is the origin of all this? We have been so many lives, so many cycles. We have been entrapped in this loop for so long. What is behind what? Yeah. So what do you say is the cause of assumptions and expectations? What is the assumptions and expectations? What is the cause of assumptions? Well, first of all, we set them up based on experiences from the past. So already something that has happened in the past. That's for a start. But let's take it. Let's go slowly. Let's see where it goes. Because when I put the assumptions here, this is the first assumption that we have is that I'm here to be entertained. You know, this world is like a game, and I'm gonna be entertained in this world. Let the universe do something for me. So what puts us in that place? I think just the passivity itself, just the not willing to be engaged with the world in an active way. I think look, since we are children, we are placed in that position. Yeah, I think this is where it's going. Look, when we are children, they take care of us, they feed us, they change our nappies, they distract us, they play with us and make games with us, and this is the moment of life when we are more learning. So what do we learn? That life is about games, that life is about being entertained, that life is that people are taking care of us. And it's only slowly as we become more mature that we are expected to contribute in some particular way. But in the very first stages of life, we are not expected to contribute meaningfully. We are just expected to receive what is being given and to grow and learn. But the very first thing that we are experiencing as children is that thing, people do things for us. It's a very comfortable place. Let them keep doing that. So I would say there is levels of morality. When you go into the most basic level of a baby, there is not even the question of doing something right or wrong or what is good for you, what is not good for you. It's just a matter of survival. If you go to the most basic layer, and if we are thinking about the core structures of the brain, is like, is this gonna help me survive or not? That's the most basic. So pleasure, it's fine. Pain is not fine. That kind of basic concept. Then as your baby becomes a child, then it becomes to be attracted. I like this, I dislike that, which is kind of linked also to the pain and the pleasure, but on a very, very basic level. Children don't understand. They like chocolate, they eat it and it's nice. They eat something that is nasty for them, for their taste, just because it's a little bit acidic or a little bit bitter. I dislike this, right? And they create this pattern of what I like, what I dislike, and you are supposed to provide me the things that I like and not the things that I dislike. So you see, it's passive. It's a passive existence. So that comes from the beginning, just from being born and from the development of the ego. I would say that's the most basic. The ego says, I like this, I dislike this, and I expect you to take care of me as an ego. And this is even from 0 to 7 years old. So I would say that passivity, that state of childhood, that carries on into adulthood. And part of the ego is based upon those principles, that people should do things that I like and not dislike, rather than taking responsibility, right? As an adult, as you become an adult. Let me just read the messages. Infinite Stories says, I would assume that it comes from the programming you learn the first 7 years of life. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. So it's social, like if a human is born and grows along in the forest, this road doesn't exist. To have a human being born totally out of any kind of human connection for the first 7 years of life, it would have to be like the Book of the Jungle, the Mowgli guy, Mowgli boy. Can it really happen first? And even if it did, I remember my teacher, Masmare, saying that when he was in India, he found a boy who had actually been raised by animals. He had actually lived in the jungle and being raised by animals, which is an extraordinary thing, really, really strange situation. Somebody that doesn't have any kind of social behavior around them. He said that the child was like a wild animal in a way, and he had no ego. But he was totally wild. He had no control over his impulses and instincts. Let's put it this way. If a dog sees a bitch who is ready to mate, he will go with her. If he smells her and he feels attracted, he will just go. If you're a human being and you smell a woman who is fertile and ready to conceive a child, you just don't go right away, right? There may be an impulse, there may be an attraction, there may be a sexual something behind, and maybe you may be, pulled with this lust, right, towards her, but you have control over the impulses. So there is a part of us that is beyond that control, that we have developed through learning, and through learning, the social learning of what is acceptable and what is not. And we have learned that in the company of society, of other people. So if a human is born in the forest, I would say you would not be playing these games. I mean, you would not have the ego to play these games, but you would be kind of like an animal. Can we say that this human, even if he lived in a very natural way, can we say that he's not creating karma? I don't think so. I think he would be creating karma. And sooner or later, if he got in contact with a human, he would have a chance to wake up and to realize, I'm not an animal. Oh, look at this creature. I am like them. But this is all a very theoretical concept, just to try to imagine how would somebody live truly without any contact with the social. Infinite Story says they did this in a study of chimps, and the chimps with no touch, all had autism and low quality of life. The chimps with no touch all had autism and low quality of life. You mean that they were not being touched? They were isolated from others and not having any kind of human contact? Is that what you mean? It could be interesting to explore the needs of a person, the needs of a baby. Maybe we will do this tomorrow, I'm thinking. That would be a nice topic to explore. Tomorrow, every week we do one video which is part of the course, and a video that is something else. So maybe we go into needs, because the needs give rise to the desires. And, Infinity was asking this, coming from the question that shouldn't desires and samskaras come before expectations and assumptions? So, yes, in a way, I think it could be connected. So it would be nice to explore desires, because desires come from a need, from a certain emptiness and a need. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this putting desires before expectations. Mm-hmm. Yes, no mother's touch or human contact. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's where we are. But so if you if you hold on to that morality, let's say, of the child, which is, entertain me, and the world is here for my pleasure. Well, it is to a certain degree, and it's good for children to have fun. I think it's really nice to encourage them to play and enjoy life. At some point in life, we need to turn from being receivers to being givers, to offer something back. If we live our lives thinking about me, mine, and taking, that's very, very selfish. That kind of attitude, it's going to be karma, 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 karma. Yeah, and you can have expectations, and maybe, things go well for you in life because you're going to be achieving your goals, but a part of you is going to know that you are not happy with that. True Spiritual happiness, as we define it, and we will see next week, it's gotta be living as also in humanity, living with others, and that means also it's gonna be part of service and serving others in some way, offering back what you received. So, if at some point in life we have to do that turn into that place, and I believe a lot of this has to do with responsibility. The moment that you take responsibility for your life, you start to stop taking, just taking, and okay, now I'm gonna see what can I offer, and fight for myself. Not let others fight for me and do things for me, but me do things for myself. But then, the moment that you do this mature thinking, then what should I fight for? That's where we have these expectations and assumptions, and we start this whole game. Yeah. So if we are expecting to be entertained, or if we decide to start playing the game, this is the beginning of this transition. I say, well, okay, I'm going to do something to be happy, and you start playing this game, or you just stay here with the justification and the passive expectancy. You remember? Pum pum pum. So you can stay here locked, or you can decide you're going to do something about life and moving in that direction. How are you doing, Infinity, with this idea? Does it make sense to you with the concept of the samskaras? How does it sound? Because samskaras are always going to be before everything, because we have them from before. But that karma that created the samskara, where did that karma come from? Well, from another cycle that we did this, maybe in this life, maybe in another, but it comes from another cycle like that. So, So Infinity says, so like the code of chivalry is the turning point. Right. I mean, it has to be a moment of conscious decision that you want to change it, right? And you want to adhere to some code or some moral code, some moral idea of living, taking responsibility for yourself. And to do that, we have to do the turning point. That's going to be next video. That's going to be next week. Yes. Well, I hope it's clear. I hope it makes sense as well. If not, anybody, let me know, and keep writing the comments as well of the video and leave a message. But for me, for now, I think this is enough. Let's just remember one thing. When we have this illusion of knowledge, illusion of control, we think we can control many things. We think we know many things. But the only thing we can control is our illusions. That's something we can control. And realize, wait, that's my imagination, that's my expectation, that's my projection, that may not be necessarily true. And so what am I going to do then? Well, that will come next video. All right, I hope you are going to be there for next video. It's going to be interesting. And we're going to go to happiness. Let's stop this hell. But if you can identify where you are, this is important, okay? If you find yourself in the trying to grab the merit, trying to take a prize, or justifying yourself, or giving excuses, you're in hell. So I think this should be the key that we can take out of this concept, yeah? If we find ourselves justifying ourselves, there's something of us, some part of us that has been going through all these steps, and we ended up in hell. So we can choose that we can change this. Yeah. So let's be with the eyes open. Anytime we identify, anytime we notice that we are excusing explanations, we are playing the victim card, we are looking for some sort of credit, we are finding a scapegoat. Anytime we find one of these, now we know where we are, and we have to change that. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Yes. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you, everyone. And until next week, or until tomorrow. Tomorrow, maybe we will explore the needs. What are our needs and how do we cover them? So until tomorrow, Sadam.